Hey guys, this looks like a fun one. We're given xy equals negative 80, yz equals negative 90, and zx equals 100. And it wants us to find both solutions. If you want to try it on your own, pause it right now, because I'm going to solve it in 3, 2, 1. So to start it off, I want to multiply xy times yz times zx. And that'll be equal to negative 80 times negative 90 times 100. To simplify this, on the left-hand side, let's get rid of the parentheses and we can rearrange the like terms together. X times x will be x squared, y times y will be y squared, and z times z will be z squared. And then on the right-hand side, this times this times this is equal to 720,000. And then to get rid of all these squares, let's square root both sides of the equation. On the left-hand side, each of these will get their own square root. And in this context, since we introduced the square root of x squared could be either plus or minus x. And then for the square root of the y squared, it could be either plus or minus y. And for the square root of the z squared, it could be plus or minus z. And on the right-hand side, it'll also be plus or minus, and under the square root, we can split up 720,000 into 72 times 10,000. And each of these can get their own square root. The square root of 10,000 is equal to 100. And then for the square root of 72, let's split that up into 36 times 2. Each of these can get their own square roots, and the square root of 36 is equal to 6. So now we have plus or minus 6 times the square root of 2 times 100. Let's rearrange it to get all the like terms together. And 6 times 100 is equal to 600. Let's smush everything together, and now the right-hand side is simplified. For the next step, I don't think we need all of these plus minuses. I think it'll be absorbed by this right-hand side. If anybody knows of any reason why this does not imply this, let me know in the comments. As far as I can tell, we can safely go from here to here. And this looks important. Let's put a box around it, and let's move it up here. Now, this is the fun part. Let's take this and copy it down here, and let's divide both sides of the equation by yz. And then up here, we observe that yz was equal to negative 90. So let's change this one on the right into negative 90. So now on the left-hand side, xyz divided by yz will give us x. Pretty cool, huh? And then on the right-hand side, we can copy down the plus minus. We can copy down the fraction 600 over negative 90, and we can copy down the square root of 2. And now we have a value for x. We still got to simplify it, but this was pretty cool, wasn't it? First, this negative 90 on bottom. In this context, the plus minus is just going to absorb the negative, so we don't need it anymore. And then for the 600 over 900, both of these are divisible by 10, so we can drop the 0 on the end. And then for 60 over 9, they're both divisible by 3, so that'll just become 20 over 3. And now we have our value for x. Let's move this up here, and let's put a box around it. And then we can basically do the exact same thing to get the other variables. We're going to start with this equation, but this time we're going to divide both sides by zx. And up here, we know that zx is equal to 100, so for this zx, we're going to substitute 100. And then xyz divided by zx will give us y. Does that make sense, y? And on the right-hand side, we can bring down the plus minus. The 600 over 100 will give us 6, and we can bring down the square root of 2. And now we have our two possible values for y, plus or minus 6 root 2. Let's put a box around this, bring it down, and basically do the exact same thing for z. We can divide both sides of this equation by xy, and then up here we saw that xy is equal to negative 80, so for this xy, let's plug in negative 80. On the left-hand side, xyz divided by xy will give us z, and then on the right-hand side, all of this will simplify into plus or minus 15 root 2 over 2. And now we have the two possible values for z. Let's put a box around it. So we just got to figure out what combinations of x, y, and z will solve this system of equations. So for now, I'll just assume these are the two scenarios, one where the x is positive and one where the x is negative. X times y is equal to negative 80. If they're real solutions, one of them has to be positive and one of them has to be negative. Since x is positive, that means y would have to be negative. And then same thing here, since y times z is equal to negative 90, one of these has to be positive and one of them has to be negative. In this scenario, we have y equal to the negative value, so z has to be equal to the positive value. And this is our first solution. Now let's do the same thing for the negative value of x. Since x times y is equal to negative 80, that means y would have to be positive. So in this scenario, y would be equal to positive 6 root 2. And then since yz is equal to negative 90 and y is positive, z would have to equal the negative value. At this point, we're done. We have both solutions, but I think I want to check them anyway. I think it could be fun to see it work out. And I can play around with some animations. So we're going to check x, y, y, z, and zx. So for x, y, it'll be this times this. For y, z, it'll be this times this. And for zx, it'll be this times this. So now for each of these, let's animate the like terms together. And now we can simplify. Negative 6 times 20 is negative 120. And root 2 times root 2 is equal to square root of 4, which is equal to 2. And negative 120 times 2 is negative 240. And negative 240 divided by 3 is negative 80. So this first one checks out. For the next one, negative 6 times 15 is equal to negative 90. And root 2 times root 2 is 2. And then this 2 on top and this 2 on bottom can cancel each other out, leaving us with negative 90. And this one also matches. And then for the last one, 15 times 20 is equal to 300. Root 2 times root 2 is 2. And then this 2 on top and this 2 on bottom can cancel each other out. And the 300 over 3 is equal to 100. And these two match, so the first solution checks out. Now let's try the second one. xy will be this times this, yz will be this times this, and zx will be this times this. We can do the same animation where we move everything together. 6 times 20 is equal to 120. 6 times 15 is 90. And negative 15 times negative 20 is 300. And then for the root 2 times root 2, each of these will be equal to 2. And then 120 times 2 is 240, 90 times 2 is 180, and 300 times 2 is 600. And 2 times 3 is equal to 6. Negative 240 over 3 is equal to negative 80. Negative 180 over 2 is equal to negative 90. And positive 600 over 6 is 100. And all of these match, so the second solution also checks out. These are the two solutions to this system of equations. How exciting.